welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, look, thanks for having me. I appreciate being here with you, Sean.
Thanks. So this is Jack Harris Jr., and you're the author of Terminus Veil.
Yep.
Could you just give me sort of like a short synopsis of what Terminus Veil is about?
Yeah. There's this private security team, and they're basically transporting a new invention. While they're transporting it, some guys come down, attack them, basically in helicopters, shooting at them. They're trying to figure out what's going on, and that leads into a bigger conspiracy. And yeah, that's the overall synopsis. It's very action based. There's a lot of mystery to it as well. Um, yeah, I think that's a good short one.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. It kind of gave me like Archer vibes when I was reading it. I don't know if you watched that TV show, but
Yeah. Big
yeah,
fan of Archer.
yeah. What's your history with comic books? Like, when did you start reading comic books or get into comic books?
Yeah, I got into man. It's hard to know the exact age, but when I was you know adolescent, very I would say 7, 8, 9 years old. I was
Yeah.
just parents getting me comics and reading them. I remember reading the Silver Surfer book. It's probably one of the first ones I think I've ever read. And when I got to be around 11 or 12, I started just really being into Image Comics. Just
Oh,
reading
okay.
everything. Yeah. Wildcats, Grifter, all the stuff out of Wildstorm, Youngblood, just that whole scene. It was just what I kind of really got me. I was spending my allowance every Friday, basically going to the comic book store on Saturday.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was since then I've always kind of just read books here and there. There was a time in my life where I didn't read a ton, but I really in the last I don't know 7 6 7 years I really got back into it, reading a good bit.
So when you were a kid, did you imagine that you would be like a comic book author or artist or?
Yeah, I thought I would be an artist. Man,
Oh yeah.
Alex, and when I was 11, I would make my own books, and I would just sit and make them. And me and my cousin, he was a big fan of comic books as well, and we would sit and make them and then pass each other the other's book, and we look at it and talk about ideas,
Yep.
all that type of stuff. And um, you know, kind of find out that drawing really wasn't my strong suit though. um, so I end up learning how to program computers along the way, and that kind of has always paid the bills. But no, I always
Right,
thought that
right.
that I'd eventually get to it.
Well, yeah, congrats, man. Um, Glad you
So,
got around to it finally.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
I was kind of the same way growing up, like was always tracing my Spider-Man comics, I had so many
Okay.
tracings of Spider-Man. And then I was trying to wean myself off tracing and like learn to draw. And man, that shit's hard.
Yeah.
it's
Much
it's
respect to artists.
yeah, it's easy to trace a Spider-Man. It's hard to draw a Spider-Man.
Mm,
Um, do you have any like specific comic influences that this comic book draws from, or even TV show or media influences?
yeah, I mean, it's I think it's got a lot of just anime influence. I would say um Ghost in the Shell is kind of one of the books one of the shows um that I really feel like there's some influence from. Um
Hmm.
Short of that, I would think it's more along the lines of just kind of what you get out of action movies, in general. That's probably the closest thing I could say. I don't know if there's a particular book that I just draw a ton from, but the Ghost in the Shell is probably the closest I would say where it's like there's definitely some influence from it.
Yeah, it actually reminded me. There's like a pretty obscure um, Top Cow, I think, comic called Gate Crashers. It kind of
Okay.
reminded me of that.
Okay.
It has the same sort of like um, pervasive humor, I guess you would call it. I don't know, and,
Yeah.
but it's like heavily action focused,
Mhm.
and it revolves around a team, like your comic does as well. So it's clear that you're setting up like a larger mystery in this comic to me. Like you seem to have an overarching story in mind where the story's going. And I was just wondering because I've been trying to write my own comic as well. And I'm kind of so focused on that overarching story that I'm struggling to write a satisfying single issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm struggling to write a small narrative that is satisfying enough within that larger narrative. Did you have any problems kind of doing that yourself, or how did you get around that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's always hard to judge your own work, right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
is my first issue really good? I don't know, but I feel like what helped me write is that there was a time, and I think you'll be the first person I told this because um nobody really asked me, but there's a time where I used to rap and I used
Okay.
to write raps, and one thing that I learned from rap that kind of translates. Um, I think I guess since we talking about getting to single issues and stuff like that, is that you're trying to catch somebody immediately. You know,
Yeah.
the idea of writing songs is like, hey, if the first 20 or 30 seconds isn't interesting, then they're never going to make it to the end of the song. And
Yeah.
so I kind of took that approach with my writing in comic books is, you know, I got this overarching story, and I would love to go to 30 or 40 issues to fully tell it. But you know, if I can't get you hooked in issue one, it's not gonna, it's not gonna go anywhere. And so,
Yeah.
what helped me was just, thinking of, yeah, the plot and all that is big, but just thinking of, all right, well, human interaction. What can be fun about human interaction? What can be scary about somebody shooting at you from a helicopter, and all these types of things. How do you make that interesting somehow, and just taking it page by page. I kind of wrote the way I write is I like to write up a kind of a page outline to start,
Hmm.
so I know, I and I kind of work backwards. I know where page 22 has to be,
Yeah.
and then it's just like, how do I work backwards from there? Um, and taking it page by page kind of helps. I'm not a person who writes that goes back and makes a ton of changes. I kind of just proofread and make little changes here or there. And once I got to that point, it was proofread. I was just like, all right, I'm not going to touch it because I do know the feeling of is it good enough, and should I go back and change and all that. And that's a whole nother deal of sometimes you got to say done is done, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You can sometimes you can keep changing something, but you're not always necessarily changing it for the better, right? If you just keep
Yeah.
keep tinkering at it. Um, I think that's good advice though. Like definitely you have to grab a reader's interest right away. It's kind of like in movies, they'll often start off with an action sequence,
Mm,
even if it's just even if it's kind of a fake action sequence, like it's 2 minutes of an action sequence and then a character's like, how did I get here? Well, let me
right.
tell you, right?
Yep.
It's the same
Right.
sort of concept where they're like, okay, we need to hook someone right at the start here. And yeah, I think that's a smart way to do it for sure. So how did you go about finding a artist and inker and letterer for this?
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of different ways. When I was very uh, a novice to it, I had no idea how to go
Yeah.
when I decided to do it. And I kind of the first place I just kind of just searching on the internet was ArtStation. ArtStation was um, it's where a ton of concept artists, comic book artists, video game artists, 3D, 2D modeling, all that type of stuff. There's just a ton of a large bank of them, and I kind of just put in a search criteria. I was looking for a particular comic book artist, and your freelance, and I just really just went through, and I tried to find something that I thought people who I thought were um, matched the kind of art style I was looking for,
Yep.
while and sent out a ton of emails. Most of them didn't get replied. Some of them did. And then but there was Jordan Gunderson was one of the people who I sent, and really it's kind of one of those like, yeah, I'm shooting my shot. I don't know what's going to happen at it. Um, he ended up contacting me back, and it was just kind of everything worked itself out from there. So he was a great to get on, and then for the anchor, I kind of did the same thing, but I actually looked on Fiverr, and I was just like, hey, let me just see.
Yeah.
And I found B on Fiverr, and she was really cool, and I had her anchor a couple pages, had me just a few test pages, and then from there we just kind of we ended up doing issue 1 and issue 2 with B, and she's been really good. Um, Same way lettering, I think it was on Fiverr, and it was pretty pretty straightforward. Lettering is pretty straightforward. And then
Yep.
my colorist I found on Behance. I
Oh,
think it
nice.
was through Reddit, I believe though. I think I was on Reddit looking at I think I follow like a bunch of just comic book related subreddits, and
Yeah.
I seen this lady, excuse me, Yulia. I seen her and looked at her looked at her portfolio on Behance, was just like, this is incredible. The color was incredible to me. So I was like, shoot, shot a shot again, and kind of worked out.
Well, yeah, like the art in this first issue is amazing, man. I haven't seen the second issue. Did you switch uh your artist in the second issue?
Yeah, we couldn't get Jordan to come back. Um it was just he's got a ton of stuff going on. He's
Yeah.
a bunch of other books. But yeah, so we switched our penciler. Still went with B for inks. Went with a different colorist this time around, just because I think it felt a little better with the artist we had. Um, and yeah, it was a little bit of a switch. And we'll be switching again. We switched again for issue 3. As a shout out, I guess, to being a new creator, is it's definitely you have to be a bit adaptable, because
Yeah.
you I'm not the right now we're not the mainstay book that everybody's trying to get on,
Yeah.
um but yeah, no, it's a whole deal, but uh it's been fun though. And I've learned a lot through it, so
Well, and I think it's understandable from the artist's point of view too, right? If they can get a steady paycheck,
yeah.
whereas yours is going to be more intermittent. Um,
Yep, it's gonna be
yep.
book by book. And and then, like I said, Jordan, we kind of caught him at the right time. Like that's what I said, this really was one, just the timing was perfect.
Yeah.
um but everyone else's, hey, availability, schedule, can it work, can it not, kind of play it from there.
Yeah. And then um and I can edit this out if you're not comfortable answering this, but uh, financially, did it all work out in the end? Like it must have been pretty expensive, to
No,
hire these
no, it's
artists and
yeah, no, we don't have to edit it, but it's no, um it has not, but it was never the plan was always to go to 4 issues, and then get them put all together in one book, and
yep.
then try to get those books, and then try to get that book in store.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just the way, from you're trying to always do things cost effective, and um trying to distribute 4 small issues being unknown is very hard. Because yes, you can get the distribution, you can get in stores, but the amount of money you're paying to get books shipped to stores, and
Yep.
all of those, printing 4 different style books, that's a lot. And we do prints, we do little prints of all the issues. The initial plan was just to do digital 1 through 4, and then bound it up to do print. um but a lot of people were just like, oh man, we just love to have it in print, so I was like, all right, I'll do print to start off. um but yeah, we our my expectations been, once we get to issue 4 and we get them all bound up together, then that's when we'll really be trying to evaluate if how the how the balance book look, how the books look, right? Right
Yeah.
now it's just, we're taking those lumps, but hopefully it'll pay off.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, you're giving it your shot, you're making something rad, and
Yeah.
you're not going to live your life regretting that you never tried this, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, I feel like the reviews we've got have been pretty good. The going to cons and selling at shops and stuff like that has been, or just pop-ups, has been pretty good. So, um, as we learn, like I'm in it for the long haul, so I knew it was gonna be, and I've seen the what comics usually return. So it was never about.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to make a profit, but it's never been about the
Yeah, yeah. I respect the hell out of any independent comic book creator because it's not a money making, no
money.
one
You
no
know what
one
I'm saying?
comes out of it rich.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you come out of rich, that means you signed with Image or
Yeah, yeah,
Boom or something like that.
yeah. Um, Speaking of which, would you ever consider, writing for one of those larger companies, or do you kind of want to keep it independent and do your own thing?
Yeah, I mean, Terminus Veil, it's right now it's just I have uh, it's such a close story to me. I've been writing it for over a decade or close to a decade, I say. So it's hard for me to know that I could take it anywhere and I'd still have full creative, which I think I want to see to the end.
Yep.
Um, but I don't think I wouldn't be against working with Marvel or Image or somebody like that. In the future, like you grew like this the stuff I grew up on. It's stuff you used to dream about. So, the idea that one day I could write, I don't know, a Falcon or a Winter Soldier story or something like that would be the dream for me. It'd be a nice thing to do.
Well, I hope to hear one day that you're doing that, and I can find this clip and put it online. um, yeah. What's the second issue of Terminus Veil? What's that issue about?
So it's kind of the fallout from the attack and them surviving it, and um, basically they're now trying to figure out what happened. The FBI has got involved, and they've um, for the most part, declared it a crime scene where this this massive shootout happened at. And so they're asking them questions, trying to figure out, why are these people attacking you? And they're trading little bits of information with the FBI that both sides are trying to keep some of it close to their chest to just not give away or what they think. And then the team itself is introducing a new character, Badia, who comes in, and she's very prominent in the book. And it's just that team dynamic. Some of the rookies didn't do good their first round, right? There was, they shots weren't getting fired off like they were supposed to and stuff like that. So there's some backlash to that and story that's built around it.
Cool, man. Sounds good. Any current Marvel TV shows or DC TV shows that you're movies as well that you're just like loving?
Yeah, man, you know, I guess I don't know if I guess it is current, but I loved Moon Knight. I thought it was
Yep.
phenomenal through and through. It's one of my faves. I've been watching She-Hulk, and it's been pretty good. Like the first few episodes.
Yep.
Definitely had a lot of fun with that. Um, on the DC side, there hasn't been much I've been watching as of late. I'm eager to see what this Black Adam film is going to be like.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, eager to see that. The trailer looked really good. Um, I mean, Marvel, there's just everything they're doing. I'm just eager to see. I'm eager to see the Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
Um,
Me too.
Trying to figure out what they're going to do with Fantastic Four and all that. I think there's a lot of excitement behind that.
I'm digging She-Hulk, but like, man, there's some toxic stuff online around around
Yeah,
She-Hulk
man.
right now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, man. It's just I don't know. It's something about it's crazy how toxic. I mean, it was toxic for Miss Marvel. It's a lot of.
Yeah.
It's just wild, man. It really is. And I'm kind of big on my characters being like I wanted to be a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Um, and it's nice to see, you see this stuff, on TV and on in the movies now. So yeah, it sucks that there's some toxicity to it, but it's just the name of the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of strange misogyny. People
Yes,
people kind of
yes.
freaking out that, you know, the She-Hulk's a little stronger than the Hulk in one quick scene or something, right? Like,
It's weird that she was stronger for a particular moment, and then the Hulk proceeded to throw a rock into
yeah,
orbit. It looked like,
yeah,
but yeah,
but still,
but still,
still,
right.
they're pissed about it. It's so stupid. Do you have a favorite comic book author?
Oh man, probably Jonathan Hickman. Um,
Okay.
anything he writes, I'm gonna try to read. I can't read it all because he just writes so much. But I love the Avengers. Time runs out. The whole you know battle, what leads into be battle world and all that. I think that's just one of the best stories. As far as it's so rare you see good crossover stories amongst comic books. Like they have crossovers all the time, but I'm not gonna say they're always the ones you're looking forward to read.
No.
But that's one that was executed just really well. I've liked the X-Men stuff too. I've liked House of X and Powers of X from him. That was like, yeah, it was really really dope. The kind of reboot of the X-Men, and giving them something of this different than what's been done for the last 20 some years or so.
Yeah. So you seem to really like sort of team dynamic books.
Yeah, I like team dynamics, and I like those kind of big overarching plots that
Right.
it's hard to see at the beginning what the end is gonna be. I like something that kind of keeps you in there and say, okay, like it's not just, hey, I know they're gonna deal with this. And then I'm a big man, I can't think of his name now, but he's a Brewbreaker fan as well. I like Brewbreaker stuff. Um, love what he did in Daredevil. The run back then, Winter Soldier.
Is there anything else you kind of want to touch on or say?
Yeah, no. Other than that, we got like I said, issue 3 is in production now, and um, working on a video game, a 2D beat 'em up. Uh,
Oh, whoa.
for
Okay, yeah.
Terminus Veil.
Let's dive
Yeah,
into that. So,
yeah.
so who are you working with for the video game?
I'm programming it myself.
Oh, right. I forgot you're a computer
Yeah,
programmer.
yeah,
S-
yeah.
Did you
So
start it in conjunction with kind of the first issue, or have you started it since the first issue's been out?
I kind of knew, I always knew I was going to do a game with it. Was always kind of the plan. But yeah, I've been working. It's been in pre-production. The game's been in pre-production for a while. I don't know, a couple years.
Yeah.
Just me doing stuff on the side, getting stuff right, and learning a lot about Unity and how to make games in them. So now I'm actually in production. We just got a team to start working on the animations for the game, and so yeah, just working through it. Hopefully we'll have a demo of it in the next 6 months, so that people can at least get a feel for it, play it a little bit, which is kind of one stage, one character type of demo. But overall, we'll try to make it kind of in the same style of games like Streets of Rage,
Nice.
River City,
Yeah.
Girls, River City Ransom type game.
Yeah. Have you played this is just the most recent beat 'em up I've played, and it's freaking awesome. The new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, play the Turtles. Party
Yeah,
time.
I forget what the heck it's called, the new one, but
Yeah. It's like Shredder's
yeah,
Revenge.
that's it.
Yeah,
Man, it's so incredible. Are
yeah, man.
What's your kind of art style for this?
I'm looking forward to kind of feel that same Streets of Rage 4 art style, where it's not it's not gonna be the kind of old school pixel. I want it to be
Yeah,
very modern. We're still working through. The animators are actually still kind of working through what the final concepts are looking for right now. They're just kind of giving me sketches and
yeah,
kind of the pre process of getting the understanding what the animations will be. But yeah, that's our look for something to be very detailed, very colorful. Um, But yeah, that's still in the work, still working through it.
That's pretty impressive that you're also taking that on and writing these comics. Like, I imagine all your free time is just taken up by this
Yes,
stuff,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, every now and then I get a chance to game and sit with the family and be with them. I've learned that I've got to, you you can't be in a rush when you're doing it all yourself.
Yeah.
Like I tried to, I don't know, from March to June of when I first released issue one, I was really every day like trying to being on social media, sending emails, working to get the book produced, and you're working on marketing, you're working on all these different things.
Yeah.
Um, and in July, I was just like, oh, I don't feel like doing anything. So I've learned that like you just gotta kind of take it day by day, and like the game's gonna take some time. It's not gonna be here in a year or 2 years. Maybe it might be 3 years.
Yeah.
But as long as I continue to try to make progress and know what I want to do, and knowing you can bring somebody in to do something and it makes sense and all that, that's just kind of my approach now.
Oh, I had another question for you about getting your books printed and shipped. So
Yeah.
did you print them all like locally and then ship them out yourself, or how'd you go
No,
about
I
that?
ended up working with a company that's I'm not sure where they're based in all honesty. But it's Comics Wellspring,
Okay.
and they offer pretty good rates, especially if you're trying to do small prints. Like I have a lot of companies, if you're doing bigger, a lot of companies have good deals when you're going to print 5,000 or
Right.
2,000.
Yeah.
We weren't printing that many the first time around. So yeah, Comics Wellspring is really good, and they're pretty nice because they also, if you were to do distribution, or if you had, I don't know, maybe you had so many stories you wanted to send out, 10 per books to them or whatever, they
Mhm.
will take a whole kind of, you can give them just the shipping addresses and they'd ship all straight from there as well. I didn't have to do it quite yet. I probably will have to do that in the near future when I get all of them, bound up together.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, it was actually a really good experience. I would recommend it to anybody.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I'm sure, you know, someone looking to create an independent comic watching this might check them out. So that's cool.
Can you tell me anything about the book you're trying to write?
Yeah. So yeah, okay. And maybe you can help me with it a bit here because I'm struggling as of late. Um, so the concept is it's called Ill Will, and it's about a guy named Will who um, is immortal, but when he dies, he comes back to a different time in his life. So he's
Okay.
immortal, but he's living his life kind of out of sequence,
Okay.
right? Um, let's say he's right now in 2022, he's 60 years old, right? So when if he dies and he comes back as a 10-year-old, it's going to be that silver age comic book style because he's living in the 60s and we're kind of like seeing it as though it's a silver age comic book.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, and then if he comes back in the 80s, it's going to be more of that kind of
Yeah,
grimy
yeah.
80s style.
Right, right.
And then there's sort of this overarching plot that um basically there's a villain who's out there trying to kill him unsuccessfully, obviously, like he kills him and he just comes back, and
Right.
there's kind of this overarching mystery about like why is this guy trying to kill me,
Why
right?
is he
Like,
trying to kill him? Right, yeah.
but since he's living his life out of order, he doesn't know what he
He doesn't know
did.
the sequence where he's gonna actually cross paths with this guy the real first time.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
so that's kind of the overarching idea, but then I'm struggling on making the first issue like giving enough of the story that you're interested, enough of the overarching story that you're interested, and but still making it a satisfying single issue, right?
Right.
um so yeah, that's kind of where I'm struggling.
Yeah, that's a cool concept though, man. I do like that concept. It seems like you can have a lot of fun, especially um, you get to have that theme style of a book where, because yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff to play with that, right? With the idea that you can, you know, if you were in the 60s, then you get to have the the Batman and old school Batman and Robin type talk, right? The
Yeah.
where people are gee willikers and you know what I mean and all that, right? And then again, like you said, you can go into the early 90s and somehow, even though he's only a 16-year-old, he's just ripped um to the max because that's just what early
Yeah,
90s
yeah.
books
He's
were,
got those Rob
right?
Liefeld muscles.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, man.
Yeah. The other thing I've been struggling with is I found an artist that I loved, right? And um well, a couple artists. The same thing happened with both of them. Basically kind of messaged them, pitched them on the idea and was like, just let me know what your rates are and then I can work backwards from there, let you know if this is going to work. And both of them kind of said like, too busy right now.
Yeah,
And it sounds like you had the same problem, right? You had to
yeah,
go through a list before you
yeah. No, I
started
mean,
finding someone.
yeah, there's a lot of people who I said, I don't know. I probably sent 20 plus emails the first time around, and I mean that's not a lot, but it's enough when you're kind of scouring and you're just trying to find somebody that matches. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's one thing I would say if I could go back and switch around this time and do it if I was doing one again is that I probably would have just went to Instagram. As crazy as that sounds. I wasn't a person who used Instagram before I started creating the book.
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, let me, it seems like the social media platform to go if you're dealing in comic books and art and all that.
Yep.
And so as I started getting on Instagram more and more and more, I started, you start seeing like I was like, man, there's just a ton of comic book artists on here. There's just a ton. And it's been I've had way more success sending people DMs and Instagram than getting emails back from artists, if that makes sense. Um, and so, it's usually a lot of art, and the nice thing about Instagram is that usually artists who are on it that are working, they kind of will tell you in their profiles, like if they're open for commissions or not. And that's
Right.
usually if you see somebody's clothes, you can just I'm not even gonna worry about it.
Yeah.
But if you see somebody open, then got it, got a shot there possibly. So
Well, yeah, maybe that's I got to start looking on Instagram then. See who I can find there. Have you created a TikTok account at all?
I
I've,
did. I
yeah.
created one. I just have not done anything. I'm not a. It's been weird for me to make videos. I've done a couple on my Instagram, but I don't know. I've at this point, it's hard for me to say that I would sit and make them just because I just always feel like there's something else I'm supposed to be doing.
Right. Yeah, it can feel like a distraction. I think
Hmm.
the good thing about TikTok right now is it's really easy to build an audience. Like,
Yeah.
I'll send you a couple examples of like independent comic creators that post on TikTok, just so you
Okay.
can get an idea. Like, this one guy, his sort of it's not an angle, but his approach to it is he created these comic book characters when he was like 12, like he has drawings from when he was 12, and then he made an actual comic about them now that he's an adult, right? So there's a lot of like going back to these drawings from when he's 12 and showing how he updated them, and it's just this like it's a cool visual way to kind of promote his comic. And he has, I think, like 200,000 followers.
Nice.
And
Yeah, I gotta.
it's
That's neat.
definitely doable on TikTok. I think it's the easiest platform right now to grow on for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I've been hearing from more and more. So much stuff, man. So much. Yeah, I gotta get on
Well, it sounds like you got plenty of time
it.
between programming, making a game, creating a
Yeah.
comic, right?
Yeah. Plenty of time. Plenty of time. Just fit that right in there in that time where you're supposed to be asleep and the time you're
Yeah.
supposed to be taking a shower.
Cool, dude. Well,
Cool, man.
I'm actually running out of time to record.
Yeah.
Zoom, I just updated Zoom and now it's telling me I have 3 minutes left where I need to upgrade.
All
So
right, no
uh
worries. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
yeah, yeah, don't update Zoom. Apparently they have a time limit now. But yeah, catch you later, man. Thanks for talking to me.
All right, take it easy, Sean.
See ya.